Righty-o. I woke up at dawn this morning, as I always do, because I'm going to have to go in. I'm standing up. If anyone were going to be putting money into a crowdfund, they need to see that the person they're funding is fit and they have that act together. Now, because it's windy, I'm going to have to go inside. Yeah, about an hour ago I just thought, right, I've so got my act together, why not have a go at a proper crowdfund? I haven't got my act together there, I can't even say it. Crowdfund. Right. Now, every word that I share here, every single word, now I'm putting this in for a reason. I swear on my daughter's life, yes, I swear on my daughter's life, it's true. Now, for quite a few years, I write slightly poetically, slightly stream of conscious, thoughtfully, philosophically. I can honestly say that I'm a bit more philosophical than him about a range of things. And one of them is psychology. But that's not what I'm crowdfunding. I'm crowdfunding the most bittersweet, sad, emotional thing you can imagine. I live off grid. I've lived in this vehicle, only in this vehicle, for 3.5 years. I know I've gone off on a tangent, but I'll come back in a moment. I've lived in here for a reason. Nobody would understand, so I have to write the book. It's the most tragic, but to me, tragicomic, but still, it hurts inside, reason you can imagine. I'll come to it in a moment. Because I live off-grid, I do have one friend in this region. I can pop round and use her plug, which I do twice a week. But I can't work there. I can't think there. I can't concentrate there. In fact, she can't either. There's a reason for that. Anyway, to the point. Because I live off-grid, I can make videos, I can make audios, I can open up my laptop for an hour, which has run out of battery, and but I can't edit, and that's not what I'm crowdfunding for. I have been writing, or rather diarising, I should say. Let's put this in. Fully for 25 years. Now that sounds pretty boring. Right, now in here I've got these are my stories to do. These are just one or two little things connected with the online stuff I do. Those are philosophical things, and those are diaries, and that's a really big one. This is my favourite mode of writing. Oh, I've even got my will in there. But it's been turned into a kind of poetical thing. Right, I've got to get quickly through this. I've literally only got 10 minutes battery. Right. I'm going to say what is at the end of something. Now, spoiler alert. I'll say 25 years ago for brevity, rounding numbers up. It's actually 27 years ago. Prior to 27 years ago, for 18 years, I was actually a professional pilot. I flew small charter planes all around Europe, in fact, in other places of the world. I am so green. It wasn't the only reason. I am the only person ever. I say this, I didn't actually do it as a physical act, but I'm speaking figuratively and entirely truthfully. Yes, as I was saying, sorry, I'm going to sound like a lunatic here. And I've got a dirty cup because I'm always so constant but so busy on writing. And I have actually been the last 2 or 3 months trying to write to agents to try and get an agent for this. So they politely write back, actually. haven't got any time for me at the moment. Yes, one of the things I write intelligently about and think all the time and discuss with people, mainly women my age, is psychology. And I know that one of the very keys to psychology is authenticity, telling your truth. If you, especially living like I do, which I'm probably going to have to go into audio to explain, because that takes less battery. If you spend a huge amount of time alone, I've spent a lot of the last 2 years walking the pathway here. This is Cornwall. The southwestern pathway is just paradise. And I lived for 27 years on Offa's Dyke Path, borderland of England and Wales, where you would only get 5 walkers a day if you were out all day on the path. Okay, here there are many more walkers, but it is a magnificent path. We'll come to Raina Wynne in a moment with her book Salt Path. But anyway, to the point. Yes, when you're walking, thinking meditatively, now you can look up, I've been scattering things online in case I drop dead. All scattered there for my daughter, who's studied English literature at the top literature university in Britain and got her degree, King's in London. She read Dostoevsky, age 16. Scattering things. One of them is on landlope.com. I think it'll still be going for a few more months. I don't think I can afford to renew it. Anyway, to the point. When you have the worst pain there is to live with, as I have for 15 years, and I mean it, this video is useful for this, the worst pain, the pain that crushes you for years, first of all, and then still from time to time crushes. I am always constant. I don't take drugs, don't drink. In fact, I don't take any medication. I don't do anything. I have the odd roll up tobacco. That's it. But you realise the most important thing, the way you keep your sanity, is you mustn't lie to yourself. You mustn't avoid. You mustn't go into denial. You mustn't avoid the most painful of all truths. Which is why I say in psychology, I do think authenticity is a crucial thing. Right, let's try and get to the point. So, I have got 25 years of writing. The saddest possible ending. I've got kind of 3 books that I must write, but I will focus on one of them. First, probably. I'm writing them all constantly. The saddest possible ending is, as I was saying, 27 years ago, my daughter was created, or was it? Yes, it was 27 years ago. And I gave back, figuratively, my professional pilot's license, saying, okay, I did operate in general aviation, which is something of a luxury. I also did medical repatriations. I flew around heart transplants. I mean, so actually I felt good about that, but saying, anyway, I gave my license back saying it's not in the interest of the next generation, my daughter's generation, that we waste hydrocarbons flying smaller aircraft around. And I've never touched an aeroplane since. Now, if you want bittersweet. So I'd lost my daughter for 10 years. And 6 months ago, she re-engaged. There's so much pain and mess in there. To my amazement, absolute, the last thing on the planet. It's almost like the universe had one final trick left up its sleeve. One final thing to jab me with, in a way, although of course you have to look at it that it's all just good. My daughter, who has lived in another household for a long time, who I knew were consumerist and status obsessed, and then she has been in London for 7 years, to my absolute astonishment. So I live ultra simple on behalf of the environment. I do not use any products at all. I use a bar of simple soap twice a week. And that's it. To my absolute astonishment, as my daughter is very quickly engaging with me, she herself says, Dad, it's only been for about a year, I've become, with her partner, her long-term partner who she lives with, we have become ultra, and she's a top MA as well. She's not a hippie girl. We've become incredibly ultra light footprint. My boyfriend actually makes his own, he washes his hair in egg. Now, these are sophisticated London people. Dad, when I go into London, I just see consumerism everywhere. I myself don't, I make my own blueberry makeup, I think she said. But we've really become ultra light footprint. Now, I turned on Radio 4 this morning, I think it was at 10 to 7. I'll put a link up. And something came on about how the butterflies last year are so way down. We had a zoo, a nature sanctuary, a hedgehog rescue place. All this is between 2004 and 10. My daughter was entirely brought up to in every way to adore nature. I planted stuff around our house, which was right up it was actually in a place called Crowdfund, in the Black Mountains at 1,400 feet, right up where nothing, it was very hard to get anything to grow. Anyway, I nurtured a couple of buddleias, and our little place, no neighbours for 1 mile, became a butterfly oasis for the whole region. Anyway, I've got to rattle in quickly now. Okay, now, so she's telling me like a miracle. I basically hadn't, well, there are some good stories, but I hadn't. She was unable to communicate with me for 7 years. So I'd expected her to just be an ordinary 99% of people, actually just kind of consumerist, not too concerned, and that is the reality. So it turns out she's in the 1%. If I'd have met her out of the blue, I wouldn't have recognised her, actually. Turns out she is exactly the kind of person I'd hoped she'd turn out to be. It's just a miracle. And yet, after a few months, she can't handle it. The pain of 15 years separation, whatever. There are one or two other things. So, again, is lost, and is lost forever. Now, you're rain or win walking the salt path. The street cat named Bob. Now, for 15 years, every single moment of my day has been about trying to find a healthy future for my daughter. Every single moment. I don't complain about one moment. I had 3 years of being utterly crushed in full grief. You're going to have to read and listen to a little bit more to get the it's more than bittersweet. It's the ultimate. I mean, it's the ultimate. I think Sartre will have some good words on it, but I'm not going to be writing anything particularly intellectual. Just the ultimate. Life is total pain. Now, or can be for long periods of time, for many of us. And I know what occurred between. No, there's no between. What occurred in the history of my bringing up a child, which was entirely deliberate. My own father wasn't present, basically not at all. So I made the absolute vow, I am going to be present, totally, 100%. And for 11 years, I was, that's the right way of putting it, every moment of my life for 11 years with my daughter. And then she was, it's a shortcut way of putting it, but for no good reason, no legal reason, stolen. And 15 years I've spent only staying alive and healthy and fit to intellectually sort of, right, I've got to write this book. There are about 3 books in this. But what they aren't, ever, and I have no advantages, I've been living. I live only on about £500 a month on average for over 5 years. I was working a bit. I do a little bit of work, just building gateposts, fences, etc. I've had essentially 3 previous, you could call one a profession, being a commercial pilot, the other a bookshop owner for 5 years, and the other, I could call myself a legal professional, only at a voluntary level on behalf of mainly mothers in really difficult child law cases. Anyway, I'm going to have to go to audio now. What I have to... A year ago I planned. Right, I just want to now spend the rest of my life writing. So I've got a mixture of things, which are sort of partly Walden, partly now. This is a, if you want a roundup of the magnificent roundup of the 80s politically, socio-politically, Francis Wheen's book is magnificent there. But me, I know, I've been an environmentalist for many years, and I've given up with environmentalism. Because the way you reach people, which the environmental movement fails to do entirely, is with emotion. And it must be. Piety and earnestness doesn't work. And irreverence. Britain is a society that I actually liked in the 80s because we knew Alexis Sale, Rick Mail, people like this, Dawn French, all of those kinds of people. Who's the one that I was? Joe Brand, okay? Irreverence. Irreverence works. Cheekiness. Now, I've done a lot of writing. And just on writing, you have to see the whites of my eyes. I can write. I have writing of mine that is in the law library of probably the House of Lords. Because I wrote treatises into, you can look up SimonClayton2020.com. I wrote into the top level of the appeal court system treatises, not boring legal works, emotional, moral pieces of writing that changed a very important legal culture. I can write. I write wryly on ralphschism.com, which is very well read. But it's just, I find, by just jotting a bit now and again, that, well, actually quite often, keeps you alive. It keeps a fight going, keeps a fire inside going. My only wish is to have at least 6 months, or at least a year, ideally a year, where I've got £600 a month there to just live like this, or similar to this, with an electrical source, and start to really get properly writing a load of great stories. I have in here 7 or 8 stories. I'm going to come back to them. But the big one is, how can anyone live discovering that their child who essentially, with a couple of years where it was a little bit weird, but apart from those couple of years, for 15 years, lost their child who was their total identity. My child, our life, we were known in the local area, not as Simon, but as Estian Simon. How can somebody live on? My first book isn't about that. My first book has got to be about the 10 years prior to that. But how can somebody live on having lost their total identity? Not their identity that sounds useful on Radio 4, front right row, their ethnic identity, and harking back to the absolutely evil acts that the white British Empire committed against the peoples of Jamaica or wherever 200 years ago. No, losing your identity now. Because Britain is a very dubious society. I've seen inside many legal cases, not my own. My own is the one I did during 2004 to 6. I'm the one person who came out of that system. I succeeded. Nobody else would succeed. I succeeded. That alone as a kind of battle on. The key to life is putting your finger up at them all, but with clean fingernails. That's it. That really is it. And I lament that not many people seem to be able to do that anymore. So I need to tell that first story in a 300-page book properly, which frankly I find very boring. Then there are 15 years of living on with the worst of loss. Nobody's ever helped me. I've never had anybody to put their arms around me. Poor you. Every single morning, certainly for 10 years, 13 years, I'm up with the first light, action stations. But to be intelligently philosophical, even a bit poetical, you have to have space away from the distractions of modern bourgeois existence. Full stop. I need to buy that for 6 months when I really focus down on writing up what I've got to write up.